Welcome back to Dragon's Den Classics. We're back in the thick of it with Agatha Christie's The Seven Dials Mystery. In Chapter 7, Lady Eileen Brent, or Bundle, heads to London on a mission. She calls her friend Bill Eversley to get the address of Jimmy Thesiger.
Bundle is trying to find out how Thesiger is connected to the mysterious death of her friend, Ronnie Devereaux. She's also discovered that the police are keeping Ronnie's death a secret. After getting the address, Bundle goes to Jimmy's apartment, expecting to find him, but instead finds another visitor, a young woman named Lorraine Wade.
The girls have a surprising connection. Lorraine is Jerry Wade's sister. They both reveal that they suspect Jerry was murdered, not by suicide, and that his death is connected to Ronnie's. Lorraine also tells them about a list of names and dates her brother had with the heading 7 Dials.
Jimmy realizes that his friend Ronnie was trying to expose a secret society. He explains that Ronnie had been acting strangely and had tried to tell him something right before he died. Jimmy then urges both Bundle and Lorraine to drop the investigation, arguing that it's too dangerous.
But both women refuse to back down. Lorraine is motivated by her brother's murder, and Bundle's adventurous spirit won't let her quit. The three of them form an unlikely alliance, determined to find out the truth about this mysterious 7 Dials society. And that's where we'll pick up in chapters 9 and 10 with our heroes on the hunt for answers.
If you are enjoying our presentation and would like to keep up with the story, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you'll know when we drop a new episode. Now, on with the story. Chapter 9. Plans.
Jimmy's words lifted the discussion at once into a more practical sphere. All things considered, he said, we haven't got much to go on. In fact, just the word 7 Dials. As a matter of fact, I don't even know exactly where 7 Dials is. But anyway, we can't very well comb out the whole of that district house by house.
We could, said Bundle.
Well, perhaps we could eventually, though I'm not so sure. I imagine it's a well-populated area, but it wouldn't be very subtle. The word reminded him of the girl's socks, and he smiled. Then, of course, there's the part of the country where Ronnie was shot. We could nose around there, but the police are probably doing everything we could and doing it much better.
What I like about you, said Bundle sarcastically, is your cheerful and optimistic disposition. Never mind her, Jimmy, said Lorraine softly. Go on.
Don't be so impatient, said Jimmy to Bundle. All the best sleuths approach a case this way, by eliminating unnecessary and unprofitable investigation. I'm coming now to the third alternative, Gerald's death. Now that we know it was a murder, by the way, you do both believe that, don't you?
Yes, said Lorraine and Bundle together.
Good. So do I. Well, it seems to me there we do stand some faint chance. After all, if Jerry didn't take the chloral himself, someone must have got up into his room and put it there, dissolved it in a glass of water, so that when he woke up, he drank it off. And of course, left the empty box or bottle or whatever it was. You agree with that?
Yes, said Bundle slowly, but...
Wait. And that someone must have been in the house at the time. It couldn't very well have been someone from outside.
No, agreed Bundle, more readily this time.
Very well. Now, that narrows down things considerably. To begin with, I suppose a good many of the servants are family ones. They're your lot, I mean.
Yes, said Bundle. Practically all the staff stayed when we let it. All the principal ones are there still. Of course, there have been changes among the underservants.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. You, he addressed Bundle, must go into all that. Find out when new servants were engaged. What about footmen, for instance?
One of the footmen is new. John, his name is.
Well, make inquiries about John and about any others who have only come recently.
I suppose, said Bundle slowly, it must have been a servant. It couldn't have been one of the guests.
I don't see how that's possible.
Who were there exactly?
Well, there were 3 girls, Nancy and Helen and Socks.
Socks Daventry? I know her.
May have been. Girl who is always saying things were subtle.
That's Socks, all right. Subtle is one of her words.
And then there were Jerry Wade and me and Bill Eversley and Ronnie. And of course, Sir Oswald and Lady Coote. Oh, and Pongo.
Who's Pongo?
Chap called Bateman, secretary to old Coote. Solemn sort of cove, but very conscientious. I was at school with him.
There doesn't seem anything very suspicious there, remarked Lorraine. No, there doesn't, said Bundle. As you say, we'll have to look amongst the servants. By the way, you don't suppose that clock being thrown out of the window had anything to do with it?
A clock thrown out of the window, said Jimmy, staring. It was the first he had heard of it.
I can't see how it can have anything to do with it, said Bundle. But it's odd somehow. There seems no sense in it.
I remember, said Jimmy slowly. I went in to see poor old Jerry, and there were the clocks ranged along the mantelpiece. I remember noticing there were only 7, not 8. He gave a sudden shiver and explained himself apologetically. Sorry, but somehow those clocks have always given me the shivers. I dream of them sometimes. I'd hate to go into that room in the dark and see them there in a row.
You wouldn't be able to see them if it was dark, said Bundle practically. Not unless they had luminous dials. Oh! She gave a sudden gasp, and the color rushed into her cheeks. Don't you see? 7 dials. The others looked at her doubtfully, but she insisted with increasing vehemence. It must be. It can't be a coincidence.
There was a pause. You may be right, said Jimmy Thesiger at last. It's dashed odd. Bundle started questioning him eagerly.
Who bought the clocks?
All of us.
Who thought of them?
All of us?
Nonsense. Somebody must have thought of them first.
It didn't happen that way. We were discussing what we could do to get Jerry up, and Pongo said an alarm clock, and somebody said one would be no good, and somebody else, Bill Eversley, I think, said why not get a dozen, and we all said good egg and hoofed off to get them. We got 1 each and an extra one for Pongo and one for Lady Coote, just out of the generosity of our hearts. There was nothing premeditated about it. It just happened.
Bundle was silenced, but not convinced.
Jimmy proceeded to sum up methodically. I think we can say we're sure of certain facts. There's a certain secret society with points of resemblance to the mafia in existence. Jerry Wade came to know about it. At first, he treated it as rather a joke, an absurdity, shall we say. He couldn't believe its being really dangerous. But later, something happened to convince him, and then he got the wind up in earnest. I rather fancy he must have said something to Ronnie Devereaux about it. Anyway, when he was put out of the way, Ronnie suspected, and he must have known enough to get out on the same track himself. The unfortunate thing is that we've had to start quite from the outer darkness. We haven't got the knowledge the other 2 had.
Perhaps that's an advantage, said Lorraine coolly. They won't suspect us, and therefore they won't be trying to put us out of the way.
I wish I felt sure about that, said Jimmy in a worried voice. You know, Lorraine, old Jerry himself wanted you to keep out of it. Don't you think you could?
No, I couldn't, said Lorraine. Don't let's start discussing that again. It's only a waste of time.
At the mention of the word time, Jimmy's eyes rose to the clock, and he uttered an exclamation of astonishment. He rose and opened the door. Stevens? Yes, sir. What about a spot of lunch, Stevens? Could it be managed? I anticipated that it would be required, sir. Mrs. Stevens has made preparations accordingly. That's a wonderful man, said Jimmy as he returned, heaving a sigh of relief. Brain, sheer brain. He takes correspondence courses. I sometimes wonder if they'd do any good to me.
Don't be silly, said Lorraine.
Stevens opened the door and proceeded to bring in a most researched meal. An omelet was followed by quails and the very lightest things in soufflés.
Why are men so happy when they're single? Said Lorraine tragically. Why are they so much better looked after by other people than by us?
Oh, but that's rot, said Jimmy. I mean, they're rot. How could they be? I often think... He stammered and stopped. Lorraine blushed.
Suddenly, Bundle let out a whoop, and both the others started violently. Idiot, said Bundle. Imbecile. I knew there was something I'd forgotten.
What?
You know Cotters? George Lomax,
I've heard a good deal of him, said Jimmy, from Billy and Ronnie,
Well, Cotters is giving some sort of a dry party next week, and he's had a warning letter from 7 Dials.
What? Cried Jimmy excitedly, leaning forward. You can't mean it.
Yes, I do. He told Father about it. Now what do you think that points to?
Jimmy leaned back in his chair. He thought rapidly and carefully. At last he spoke. His speech was brief and to the point. Something's going to happen at that party, he said.
That's what I think, said Bundle.
It all fits in, said Jimmy almost dreamily. He turned to Lorraine. How old were you when the war was on? He asked unexpectedly.
9? No, 8.
And Jerry, I suppose, was about 20. Most lads of 20 fought in the war. Jerry didn't.
No, said Lorraine, after thinking a minute or two. No, Jerry wasn't a soldier. I don't know why.
I can tell you why, said Jimmy. Or at least I can make a very shrewd guess. He was out of England from 1915 to 1918. I've taken the trouble to find that out, and nobody seems to know exactly where he was. I think he was in Germany. The color rose to Lorraine's cheeks. She looked at Jimmy with admiration.
How clever of you.
He spoke German well, didn't he?
Oh, yes, like a native.
I'm sure I'm right. Listen, you two. Jerry Wade was at the Foreign Office. He appeared to be some sort of amiable idiot, excuse the term, but you know what I mean. As Bill Eversley and Ronnie Devereaux, a purely ornamental excrement. But in reality, he was something quite different. I think Jerry Wade was the real thing. Our Secret Service is supposed to be the best in the world. I think Jerry Wade was pretty high in that service, and that explains everything. I remember saying idly that last evening at Chimneys that Jerry couldn't be quite such an ass as he made himself out to be.
And if you're right, said Bundle, practical as ever,
then the thing's bigger than we thought. This 7 Dials business isn't merely criminal, it's international. One thing's for certain, somebody has got to go to this house party of Lomax's.
Bundle made a slight grimace. I know George well, but he doesn't like me. He'd never think of asking me to a serious gathering. All the same, I might... She remained a moment lost in thought.
Do you think I could work it with Bill? Asked Jimmy. He's bound to be there as Cotter's right-hand man. He might bring me along somehow or another.
I don't see why not, said Bundle. You'll have to prime Bill and make him say the right things. He's incapable of thinking of them for himself.
What do you suggest? Asked Jimmy humbly.
Oh, it's quite easy. Bill describes you as a rich young man, interested in politics, anxious to stand for Parliament. George will fall at once. You know what these political parties are, always looking for new, rich young men. The richer Bill says you are, the easier it will be to manage.
Short of being described as Rothschild, I don't mind, said Jimmy.
Then I think that's practically settled. I'm dining with Bill tomorrow night, and I'll get a list of who's to be there. That will be useful.
I'm sorry you can't be there, said Jimmy, but on the whole, I think it's all for the best.
I'm not so sure I shan't be there, said Bundle. Cotters hates me like poison, but there are other ways. She became meditative. And what about me? Asked Lorraine in a small, meek voice.
You're not in on this act, said Jimmy instantly. See, after all, we've got to have someone outside to,
To what? Said Lorraine.
Jimmy decided not to pursue this tack. He appealed to Bundle. Look here, he said. Lorraine must keep out of this, mustn't she?
I certainly think she'd better.
Next time, said Jimmy kindly.
And I suppose there isn't a next time, said Lorraine.
Oh, there probably will be. Not a doubt about it.
I see. I'm just gonna go home and wait.
That's it, said Jimmy with every appearance of relief. I thought you'd understand.
You see, explained Bundle, 3 of us forcing our way in might look rather suspicious, and you would be particularly difficult. You do see that, don't you? Oh, yes, said Lorraine.
Then it's settled. You do nothing, said Jimmy.
I do nothing, said Lorraine meekly. Bundle looked at her in sudden suspicion. The tameness with which Lorraine was taking it seemed hardly natural. Lorraine looked at her. Her eyes were blue and guileless. They met Bundle's without a quiver even of the lashes. Bundle was only partially satisfied. She found the meekness of Lorraine Wade highly suspicious. Chapter 10. Bundle Visits Scotland Yard.
Now, it may be said at once that in the foregoing conversation, each one of the 3 participants had, as it were, held something in reserve. That nobody tells everything is a very true motto. It may be questioned, for instance, if Lorraine Wade was perfectly sincere in her account of the motives which had led her to seek out Jimmy Thesiger. In the same way, Jimmy Thesiger himself had various ideas and plans connected with the forthcoming party at George Lomax's, which he had no intention of revealing to, say, Bundle. And Bundle herself had a fully fledged plan which she proposed to put into immediate execution and which she had said nothing whatsoever about. On leaving Jimmy Thesiger's room, she drove to Scotland Yard, where she asked to see Superintendent Battle. Superintendent Battle was rather a big man. He worked almost entirely on cases of a delicate political nature. On such a case, he had come to Chimneys 4 years ago, and Bundle was frankly trading on his remembering this fact. After a short delay, she was taken along several corridors and into the superintendent's private room. Battle was a stolid-looking man with a wooden face. He looked supremely unintelligent and more like a commissionaire than a detective. He was standing by the window when she entered, gazing in an expressionless manner at some sparrows. "Good afternoon, Lady Eileen," he said. "Sit down, won't you?"
Thank you, said Bundle. I was afraid you mightn't remember me.
"Always remember people," said Battle. He added, "Got to in my job."
Oh, said Bundle, rather damped.
"And what can I do for you?" inquired the superintendent.
Bundle came straight to the point. I've always heard that you people at Scotland Yard have lists of all secret societies and things like that are formed in London.
"We try to keep up to date," said Superintendent Battle cautiously.
I suppose a great many of them aren't really dangerous.
"We've got a very good rule to go by," said Battle. "The more they talk, the less they'll do. You'd be surprised how well that works out."
And I've heard that very often you let them go on?
Battle nodded. That's so. Why shouldn't a man call himself a brother of liberty and meet twice a week in a cellar and talk about rivers of blood? It won't hurt either him or us. And if there's any trouble anytime, we know exactly where to lay our hands on him.
But sometimes, I suppose, said Bundle slowly, a society may be more dangerous than anyone imagines?
Very unlikely, said Battle.
But it might happen, persisted Bundle.
Oh, it might, admitted the superintendent.
There was a moment or two's silence. Then Bundle said quietly, Superintendent Battle, could you give me a list of secret societies that have their headquarters in 7 Dials?
It was Superintendent Battle's boast that he had never been seen to display emotion. But Bundle could have sworn that just for that moment his eyelids flickered and he looked taken aback. Only for a moment, however, he was his usual wooden self as he said, Strictly speaking, Lady Eileen, there's no such place as 7 Dials nowadays.
No?
No. Most of it pulled down and was rebuilt. It was rather a low quarter once, but it's very respectable and high class nowadays. Not at all a romantic spot to poke about in for mysterious secret societies.
Oh, said Bundle, rather nonplussed.
But all the same, I should very much like to know what put that neighborhood into your head, Lady Eileen.
Have I got to tell you?
Well, it saves trouble, doesn't it? We know where we're at, so to speak.
Bundle hesitated for a minute. There was a man shot yesterday, she said slowly. I thought I had run over him.
Mr. Ronald Devereaux.
You know about it, of course. Why has there been nothing in the papers?
Do you really want to know about that, Lady Eileen?
Yes, please.
Well, we just thought we should like to have a clear 24 hours. See, it will be in the papers tomorrow.
Oh. Bundle studied him, puzzled. What was hidden behind that immovable face? Did he regard the shooting of Ronald Devereaux as an ordinary crime or as an extraordinary one? He mentioned 7 Dials when he was dying, said Bundle slowly.
Thank you, said Battle. I'll make a note of that. He wrote a few words on the blotting pad in front of him.
Bundle started on another tack. Mr. Lomax, I understand, came to see you yesterday about a threatening letter he had had.
He did.
And that was written from 7 Dials?
It had 7 Dials written at the top of it, I believe.
Bundle felt as though she was battering hopelessly on a locked door.
If you'll let me advise you, Lady Eileen.
I know what you're going to say. I should go home and, well, think no more about these matters. Leave it to you, in fact.
Well, said Superintendent Battle, after all, we are the professionals.
And I'm only an amateur? Yes, but you forget one thing. I mayn't have your knowledge and skill, but I have one advantage over you. I can work in the dark. She thought that the superintendent seemed a little taken aback, as though the force of her words struck home. Of course, said Bundle, if you won't give me a list of secret societies.
Oh, I never said that. You shall have a list of the whole lot. He went to the door, put his head through, and called out something, then came back to his chair. Bundle rather unreasonably felt baffled. The ease with which he acceded to her request seemed to be suspicious. He was looking at her now in a placid fashion.
Do you remember the death of Mr. Gerald Wade? She asked abruptly.
Down at your place, wasn't it? Took an overdraft of sleeping mixture.
His sister says he never took things to make him sleep.
Ah, said the superintendent, you'd be surprised what a lot of things there are that sisters don't know.
Bundle again felt baffled. She sat in silence till a man came in with a typewritten sheet of paper, which he handed to the superintendent.
"Here you are," said the latter when the other had left the room. "The blood brothers of St. Sebastian, the Wolfhounds, the Comrades of Peace, the Comrades Club, the Friends of Oppression, the Children of Moscow, the Red Standard Bearers, the Herrings, the Comrades of the Fallen, and half a dozen more." He handed it to her with a distinct twinkle in his eye.
"You give it to me," said Bundle, "because you know it's not going to be the slightest use to me. Do you want me to leave the whole thing alone?"
"I should prefer it," said Battle. "You see, if you go messing around all these places, well, it's going to give us a lot of trouble."
"Looking after me, you mean?"
"Looking after you, Lady Eileen."
Bundle had risen to her feet. Now she stood undecided. So far, the honors lay with Superintendent Battle. Then she remembered one slight incident, and she based a last appeal upon it. "I said just now that an amateur could do some things which a professional couldn't. You didn't contradict me. That's because you're an honest man, Superintendent Battle. You knew I was right."
"Go on," said Battle quietly.
"At Chimneys you let me help. Why won't you let me help now?"
Battle seemed to be turning the thing over in his mind. Emboldened by his silence, Bundle continued.
"You know pretty well what I'm like, Superintendent Battle. I butt into things. I'm a nosy Parker. I don't want to get in your way or to try and do things that you're doing and can do a great deal better. But if there's a chance for an amateur, let me have it."
Again there was a pause, and then Superintendent Battle said quietly, "You couldn't have spoken fairer than you have done, Lady Eileen, but I'm just going to say this to you. What you propose is dangerous. And when I say dangerous, I mean dangerous."
"I've grasped that," said Bundle. "I'm not a fool."
"No," said Superintendent Battle. "Never knew a young lady who was less so. What I'll do for you, Lady Eileen, is this. I'll give you the one little hint, and I'm doing it because I never have thought much of the motto safety first. In my opinion, half the people who spend their lives avoiding being run over by buses had much better be run over and put safely out of the way. They're no good."
This remarkable utterance issuing from the conventional lips of Superintendent Battle quite took Bundle's breath away. "What was the hint you were going to give me?" she asked at last.
"You know Mr. Eversley, don't you?"
"No, Bill? Why, of course. But what—"
"I think Mr. Bill Eversley will be able to tell you all you want to know about Seven Dials."
"Bill knows about it? Bill?"
"I didn't say that. Not at all. But I think, being a quick-witted young lady, you'll get what you want from him. And now," said Superintendent Battle firmly, "I'm not going to say another word." Wow, we're really into it now, Anna. There's so many questions in my mind right now about the story. What's on the top of your mind right now?
So, at the beginning of chapter 9, I looked up this agent, chloral, which was what was used to poison Jerry Wade. And I found that it was typically used for sedation back at that time.
Okay.
It said that it was colorless but not odorless. And Jimmy suggests that it was put in Jerry's glass of water, but it would still have an odd smell. So I'm not really sure how Jerry would have gulped down a whole cup of water with it, even when he was just waking up from sleep, due to this odor and probably nasty taste to go with it. So that's kind of suspicious to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is one of those things you have to look up because it's like something we're not familiar with currently. Um, that brings another question to mind. The person that actually put the chloral in the glass of water must have been in the house. I mean, it couldn't have been from outside of the house. Could it have been a staff member? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, that seems like a very likely thing. And additionally, with the staff member thing, there were 7 clocks on the mantle when Jimmy went in to see Jerry after his death. The arranging of those clocks could have been an accident by like one of the staff members or a maid just tidying up, Or it could be the killer who purposefully arranged them in a threatening message. 7 dials, as Bundle says.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way. As soon as I heard about the 7 clocks on the mantelpiece, I felt that this was really a piece of the answer to the mystery. So I think they have to crack that to get in further. Now, on a different part of the story, George Lomax, or who they call Codders, was present at the last murder at Chimneys, which they were talking about a couple years ago. So this place, is just like this is a second death or murder at this place that's wrapped up. He's throwing this party, right, which they're talking about, and a couple of them are going to attend. He has been warned off by the 7 Dials group. But so where does he fit into this? Who is he? And could the previous murder and his involvement be connected?
Yeah, that seems like what we're going to be diving into in the next couple of chapters. They also mention, like, while they're talking about this party, that Jerry Wade had spoken German. He wasn't there, like, from 1915 to 1918. So I'm wondering if they're saying that he's a special agent with the government. So if he's a special agent, maybe he's still employed, but perhaps he was investigating this 7 Dials group and he learned too much and something's going on with that. Maybe that's how he was killed.
Yeah, that kind of came to mind when they were talking about he was in Germany for those years, right? So he couldn't serve in World War One. While they were talking about that, Lorraine was acting highly suspicious to me. She was so enthused to look up information on the party, but then when they say that she needs to stay home and not go to the party, she just acquiesces and just backs down really quickly.
Yeah, that was quite odd. This very, very quickly. And Bundle even points that out at the end of the story, too. So she's definitely onto something. And going into that, with Bundle being very observant, we start off the chapter with the narrator saying that none of the characters are 100% honest with each other. But then we go back to Bundle. She's going to Scotland Yard where she starts her own investigation, I feel like. She talks to the superintendent and she ends up kind of, I think, convincing him to let her help with the investigation. So I think Bundle might be the one to crack this case ultimately.
Yeah, she has a lot of get up and go, and she just seems like one of those people that just is not going to take no for an answer.
Exactly. Well, thanks for dropping by the Dragon's Den. Please join us next time when we bend a page and explore chapters 11 and 12 of The 7 Dials Mystery by Agatha Christie.